must knock us back. We're back. We had a 2 week break, I think. About two
Was it?
weeks. Yeah, yeah, 16 days.
No way was it that long.
Yeah, it was 2 Sundays ago.
Shit.
Uh, don't know why. There's no real reason, is there? Episode 20 though. We've hit Van in French.
Wait, this is the big 20?
Yeah, the big 20. This is our birth.
Alright,
This is our birth.
shit. What?
The same age, sorry, as us.
Oh, right, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today we thought we'd go with a different approach, and by that I mean we are sort of doing a more freestyle rap, as they'd say. And we don't have any.
I mean, most of the time we don't have notes, so.
Yeah, but this one's a lot more less planned in advance. Like, just
Yeah, sure.
It's like a question. I've chucked a question on for a big debate, basically. Or not a debate, just a talk.
Big debate. Alright.
I think it will be a good one.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds good, mate.
so the title for people if they listen on audio is a structured life important? And I've left it this vague on purpose because it can lead you to thinking in different avenues of life, or just obviously people have, like you and me or anyone has a different perspective on life depending on
Yeah.
those different variables.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this is a good question, not only for us to talk about, for the viewers to also think about for themselves and hopefully give like an insight on things that they could improve on.
Yeah. So you want sort of input from every.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Alright.
I like the sound of that.
I think to start it off, I'll give my definition of a structured life just so you sort of get an idea of why I thought of it.
Yeah.
So a structured life to me is having like an almost like daily routine.
Yeah.
So your life's so structured that you have a good balance of, like, your fitness is well balanced, so you're hitting the gym or something like that. A good like 3 times a week, right? That's good. Then you've got, your workflow or whatever, let's just say 40 hours per week. But then you've also got a nice balance of seeing friends and family.
Right.
And on top of that, I don't know, maybe some hobbies or whatever. So it's just having a nice.
So is that what you think is important?
I don't
Like
think
the core concepts of this? Is there nothing else?
there might be something else. For me, I think that's just a good way to allocate time. There's probably like little niches and stuff you can, allocate it to. I don't know what you're like thinking of.
No, I don't know. It's just interesting to explore the possibility, to explore what people think is like necessary. Like you went immediately to like bodily fitness and like work and that kind of stuff. I feel like some people, there's people who spend who have a structured life, and part of their structure is like devoting time to mental well-being. So doing stuff like meditation, or talking to a counselor, or going to therapy, or just any sort of thing that's just generally contributes towards your like mental health or your mental fortitude, as opposed to like physical health.
Yeah, okay, that's true. I think I was just thinking of I always refer to like the 4 pillars of life, which one is also happiness. So you could link happiness in with therapy.
What do you mean the 4 pillars of life?
I think one of the Greek philosophers came up with it. The 4 pillars that they came up with were wealth, health, happiness, and I want to say, I don't even know the fourth one, but health, wealth, happiness.
Does that definitely come from a philosopher? I agree.
Yeah. Look, 4 pillars.
Let's get a name or something.
But yeah, here it is. So it's health. Oh, health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Right.
Maybe it's not Greek. But either way, that's something that I always refer to when thinking of like something for me to have a goal in, if that makes sense. So, am I progressing in some of these aspects of life? It just gives me like a little plan to, like, it's like a really lucid plan to use.
Right.
That can, if I'm ever feeling like really, really like lost or something in what I want to do, I just think of what could I do anything to improve my health? Can I do anything to improve the wealth? Can I do anything to improve like love or my happiness?
Don't you think it's a bit vague though? Like,
Yeah, but I think that's the whole point of it because they
yeah, but
want.
I feel like if people want, there's a lot of people who put a structure within their routine or their life because they're struggling with what to do specifically, or they don't know what they want to do specifically, in their life. So I think having something a little bit vague for some people would be a bit restricting or negative for them.
Okay, yeah, no, I see that. I think, yeah, like I said, I'm just saying it from my point of view, but
Yeah, that's cool.
it's you're right. Some people without that proper structure of society that we have, they'd be lost. And sometimes I feel like that as well, but I always just try to think of, those four things because to me, those four things sort of help determine or just help give a little structure to my life. It's not like I wake up thinking, oh, tick all these off today. It's just a nice little, like I said, like lucid sort of structure just to refer back to
So
every
do
now and then.
you? So you actually have that in your mind when you're going about and doing stuff.
Yeah, I always, not every day, but like every now and then I'll be like, oh, have I done anything like recently to improve one of these four aspects or like maintain it? And I
Right.
and I and I include like for me, family and friends obviously under like love and happiness. Wealth is obviously, you know, jobs or other source of income, and health is like you said, like meditation or gym or something. It could be mental or physical health.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I liked what you said before, where people that people need a structure, right? And obviously going through school, I can talk about England schools, or UK schools. We have timetables obviously, so from I don't know what time you started, but for us it's like 8:40 a.m. to 3:10 or 3:15 p.m. I was structured, like my life was structured for me by someone else, by a third party.
Yeah.
So I turned up every day, woke up, went to school, did the lessons, whatever I'd do, and I came home. And then from 3:15 to bedtime, that's when you first, as a human, get to like have a feel of structuring your own life. Because obviously after that, yeah, you get a bit of homework and stuff, but it's up to you to structure when you do that in your time.
Sure.
So when you mention people that struggle with structuring their life, I think
Yeah.
for me, having that break from from school, let's say from when I was from what I can remember, like 7, I was year 3, 7, yeah. So from year 3 to college, which was 18,
Mm.
that's what 11 years of your life, which is structured completely third party for you. And then if obviously you didn't take a gap year, but when you take a gap year, and let's say you don't have a job or whatever, you sort of have a lot of time. It's like lockdown. You have a lot of time to think and have this freedom of thinking how you want to structure your life rather than how you want someone else to structure it for you.
Which can be very daunting. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is for everyone. Like it was
Well, I
daunting
think
for
some
me.
people thrive. Some people thrive on it. I think it just depends on the type of person you are. Like, there's always going to be. So, like, when it came to uni, um, people decide whether they want to take a gap year, whether they want to go to uni at all, like whether they want to do something else, or whether they just want to take a gap year, whether they want to go straight into it, whether they just want to go into a job, whether they want to pursue something completely different. But I was whenever that when that decision arose for me, I knew that I didn't want to do a gap year or like just sort of have a break because even though like after 16 years of education or how many years you have on the trot, it could be a bit like daunting to think, oh, you're just going to sign up for another 3-4 years of structured education where basically you can't sort of just say, oh, I need to leave for a bit and come back to it. Like, it's kind of, you have to do it consecutively. So obviously there's a lot of people who think that's why I'm going to have a gap year. So they go, they travel, or they get a job, or they try and pursue different interests or goals. But for me, I really liked having the structure. Like, it was just comfortable. So I never sort of questioned it. I was always like, yeah, I'm going to go straight into uni. And I'm really glad that I did because I know that if I took a gap year, I would have been left probably struggling a bit. Like I think when it comes to my free time, I'm structured, but in a more grander sort of big picture sense. Personally, can struggle with sort of pushing myself to do things that I know I should be doing. Just sometimes, so I know that I probably would have felt a bit like I've lost my direction. So that's why I went straight into uni. So yeah, I think some people it just depends on the person as to what you need or
Yeah,
what's best for you.
you're right. So you're saying like the discipline for you is really hard. Like you're hard. You don't have a good. You lack a discipline in a way when you have free time.
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I say it's lack of discipline. I think it's just lack of like I just don't feel. I feel comfortable in a routine. I feel comfortable when everything is very set. Like I like not having to worry about stuff.
So you like it when someone else sets that routine for you rather than you set self it or self set
Yeah,
it.
I guess so. Like I think I've changed. I changed quite a bit, but I definitely used to coming from like out of GCSEs. I
Yep.
definitely wanted to keep the routine, the structure of it. Being having to being able to be like okay for 5 days a week. I go in and I learn, and then I get the weekends. Like that was a nice routine. I didn't really want to change it. Like I wasn't massively fed up of education, so I was kind of like, I'm happy to go. I mean, after college, sorry. After I was like, I'm happy to go into uni straight away. But yeah, I think it just depends on what kind of person you are, like what goals you have. Like a lot of people have goals which just they have to dictate their own structure to achieve that. So they have to take it into their own hands, and they can't do that if they're in that sort of strict routine like you are if you're in college or uni. So yeah, it just depends.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We got Darren said in the chat he took a gap year to compete in Halo.
Yeah,
He also said it's better to have a goal, which is true.
yeah,
If I think that's one thing that people sometimes forget about when you don't have these goals, even if it's daily goals, like simple, you really do get like
mm.
lost. I feel like a lot of people experience that during lockdown as well.
Yeah. It's like we talked about in that earlier one when we talked about your goals and stuff like that, didn't we? Because
Oh
we were
yeah,
like, oh, if you don't have a big picture goal,
yeah,
then it's hard to figure out what you're working towards and like
yep,
what every day contributes towards. Like if you have a bigger goal, it gives you context and meaning in the smaller actions you take. So instead of just doing a small bit of work and thinking I've not really gone anywhere, you think I've put in a small bit of work. I'm working towards a big goal, and you realize, okay, it's going to take a lot of these little bits of work to actually get somewhere. So it's really, I think it's good for a positive like mental attitude, and it's quite crucial in making sure you don't lose sight and lose perspective of a goal that is more big picture.
yeah. So it's like you said, like setting those small ones to get to that big one. That's
Yeah,
what that really helped me when you said that to me.
that's good.
Yeah, yeah. Which I mean, I since that episode, I've obviously taken on board what that, and it's actually helped. So that's definitely a good
Hmm.
tip.
I should get into a career as like a motivator or something then.
Yeah, let's go, bro. But that's interesting how you viewed education like that, because it was like literally the complete opposite for me. So as soon as like I knew like I could not, I was having a gap year 100%. I could not go into that education for at least another 3 years after college. I just because I was never, I always had my own thing going on. Like I never, like to me education was second, which isn't, I don't recommend, but education to me I like put not last, but I put not first basically. So in
Yeah,
between,
I get that.
like
You had
yeah,
other priorities, you had
yeah,
other interests.
which
That's all cool, mate.
yeah,
It's all
yeah, no, of
very
course,
independent.
but I think in hindsight that's not a smart idea, so I don't recommend it to anyone. But so obviously my mindset when I left college was, uh, thank God I've got a gap year. I get like my own time to structure my own life, which I've sort of wanted to do since like first year college.
Yeah,
Because I was just sick of like the brutal, just I was literally doing 9 to 5 at college every day, and it's just like I could not do it anymore. I just
yeah, I know what you mean. I know.
and I think that it was just a mixture of that, and also I was getting lack of sleep, so probably that had a massive effect probably. so I wasn't probably thinking straight. But
You
at
just
the
need to sort yourself out.
yeah, so at the time I just needed like a gap year, just a break from like normal life, like just forget everything and
Sure.
just sort of find my feet in a way.
Yeah, I
Uh,
get you. I
yeah,
think see. It's funny because I always find like, so obviously at the end of the academic year you're worn out, right? You are.
yeah,
Like, you're run down. You've had your exams and you're stressed, especially after A levels. Like A levels was really grueling. Like the amount of work everyone had to do, and the outcome just didn't seem to fit the work put in. I mean, that's personally, but yeah. So afterwards, I did feel like you're describing. Like, I wanted a bit of freedom, but the summer kind of always just did that for me. Like the summer afterwards was just enough. And then as soon as I'd get like halfway through the summer, I'd be like, right, let's get back to the structure. You know, it
yeah.
wasn't. I was never really like, oh, I like summer's not long enough. Like it always felt kind of right.
Okay. No, I think I did feel that as well, but it stopped feeling like that by year one. So GCSE summer, perfect. I felt exactly how you feel. But once it came to like year one college, it was like I don't know. Something just clicked where I wasn't. I don't know. I almost like lost myself in a way. I didn't know. I guess I felt a bit lost, and so having this gap here, really, or the gap here that I had, really helped me just align my focus on who I am, like what I want to do, and why I want to do it. I know it
Sure,
sounds like
yeah.
really like spiritual, or whatever, but it's like it's just what
Nah, man.
happens. Like
Yeah, it's whatever you
I
want.
feel like I found like myself more, and like I don't know,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I get you.
elevate, yeah. So to me, like that structured life through school, having that break was like literally life changing. Like for me, anyways. Obviously different for each person, because
Sure.
some people use this as an excuse, for the gap year, like, oh, if I take a gap year, I won't want to go back into education. Yeah, fair enough, but for me, it's actually the opposite. Like having these 2 years that I've not gone to university, like it actually, you know, I don't from now. I remember hating uni. Like I was like, no way I'm gonna go, but I wouldn't turn down the offer in the future in sectors like that I thought about. For example, like I'm interested in psychology, I'd happily go there, or something to do with finance.
Yeah.
So that's why you see a lot of people do open university, and like my mum does it as well. She's doing her masters,
Does
I
she?
think. Yeah, she's doing her
Oh,
masters
really?
this year or this coming year.
What's she studying?
Psychology.
That's it.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like you don't. I think there is. It just links with also like pressure and stuff of societal pressure, etc. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because obviously there is like societal and educational pressure from people, from like teachers and from just generally like it's sort of expected, isn't it? You know, you finish your A levels, people want you to go to uni. It's fading away more, I think now. Like, from our year, I feel like not like it was probably. I couldn't give you a stat figure, but it wasn't this overwhelming majority of people who went to uni. I don't think. Quite a lot of people I know just sort of decided to do something else, and I think it's becoming more normalized in our sort of generation at our age to just accept that uni isn't the only path you need to take, and you can do a lot of other stuff. So I think it's quite healthy because the idea that uni is the only way to go is not true and not healthy at all either.
yeah. Because for me, like I'm not saying bad thing. I mean, I don't. My parents obviously want me to do well for myself, and they. I was watching also a video like a couple of days ago, I believe, and how the time that they grew up and how valuable education was in their time, and I completely agree why they've used this. It was so much more valuable, the education, compared to now. Um,
Yeah,
in many different ways, like you know, one the expenses back then, obviously money links in, but expenses for uni were
yeah,
literally near to nothing, right? And then you also had so like what's the negative? It's literally you're now all legal to drink, like why, and you get to live with like people your age and have fun for like pretty much nothing, like no money costs. Why would you not have fun and learn something that you actually want to learn, or might want to learn? But also,
sure.
I feel like degrees are a lot more valuable back in the day. I They have value now, but to get into jobs that aren't as specific, for example, I don't know, like a lot of accounting jobs, you don't need a degree. Um, you know, maybe jobs like obviously like scientific jobs. You know, I don't know, like bioengineering or some sort of engineering course in medicine or whatever. You obviously require that's like needed education. They're high value people.
Mm.
But I think my point is, I feel like degrees aren't really as valued as they used to be, and so my parents and other parents included want your child to be like take the safe option and know or go through what they know is safe because they want you to be stable at the
Sure.
end of the day, right?
Yeah, I
So
get that.
why would they push away uni?
Yeah, just I mean, I guess so. I think a lot of parents nowadays are probably more accepting of it. But yeah, I get what you mean. I think it's just ingrained in parents. You know, they want to, they want you to have the highest possible goals and the highest prospects.
Yeah,
So it's going to be natural for them to say, we want you to go to university or whatever. But yeah, I agree. Like a lot of the time nowadays, there's sort of that practical experience outside of a degree or a diploma or whatever it is you know also extremely valuable when you're being viewed as a prospective worker. So I don't think it's necessary to have a degree. It's definitely helpful, but yeah,
yeah.
I think. And then again, it depends on the situation. Some career paths you're gonna need a degree. Some of them it's literally just makes no difference. So yeah, all depends really.
Spencer found himself in his gap year. Yep, that's me. Classic cliche. Yeah, so that's what my mum thought. If I took a year, I wouldn't want to go back. Makes sense. I guess from their point of view, like you only can view it
It's kind
from.
of easy not to go back though, isn't it? That's the thing. Like I think it'd be tricky because it's like one of those things where if you put it off, then it just becomes less likely to happen. Because the whole setup that college. Well, I don't know. Obviously, it depends where you live, but in the UK, how college sets you up for uni, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You remember, like we had those classes where we had to create a UCAS like username. We had to, we had classes where we wrote personal statements and
yep,
stuff like that, all ready for our UCAS applications.
yep.
Um, get ready for applying to unis. So it was all sort of set up for you, and I feel like personally, if I didn't do that, I would have struggled with. I would have maybe just. I would have been far less inclined to go probably if I took a gap year because everything I would have had to do everything myself.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know because I'm not in that position, but I don't know. I just think that it would have been harder for me to have the discipline, like you say, and have the drive to sort it all myself. So I think it would just be it's tricky taking a gap year and sticking to what you want to do.
It's
Just
almost
sort of
it's like the
as long as you
momentum.
got self drive. Yeah, you just got to have drive.
Yeah, I think that's something that I found like in the gap year though. So if I stayed in going to uni, I don't think I would have had the self drive that I have at the moment. Like maybe I would have developed it later on, but I feel like my self drive is really like in a good state for me. Like I set my standards like really high, and so that's what helps me set my drive. So I think an example for me where the structured life doesn't like didn't work or like when I went to a job, I always found myself completing the tasks or whatever really quickly, and they were just always like menial tasks, and so I always had my mind like thinking of other things that I could be doing, and I just felt
That just
like
depends on the job, though, doesn't it? Like if you're doing a sort of I don't know, like a basic job. If you're like stacking shelves
oh
or
yeah, but
cleaning or bar, serving at the bar, you're always gonna. I think it's always like that for everyone. You're not gonna. Your mind doesn't need to focus 100% on the task, especially when you get used to it. Like you get used to just doing the daily things, so you can have your mind thinking on other things.
even doing like the accounting stuff I've done and like the 9 to 5 stuff, it's just like I just find myself having so much like dead time, and it's like, yeah, cool, I'm getting paid to do nothing, but it's like I'd rather not be here. I think that's what made me not like the structured life as much. I think
Sure.
I'd rather be like more free and like flexible at the moment.
Yeah, I get you.
I don't. I do think here's like contradicting me. I do think structured life in the future And by that I mean like a proper nice set routine would be nice, but ideally not right now, just because of my current like situation.
So you want a bit more freedom right now.
Yeah, just freedom and flexibility with what I can do and when I
That
can do
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite normal, I guess, for our age. Like, yeah, people do want that.
You
Want to
say
be able
that
to
though, but
have the choice.
people hop into jobs straight after college, like
Yeah, of
nine to
course they do.
fives.
Some do, yeah, but not all of them. I'd say the majority of people who go into a 9 to 5 is way lower than the majority of people that go to uni.
Oh no,
And also
100%.
you've got to
Yeah.
think about the people who just go into a part-time work or take a gap year or just do something else. So yeah, it's quite a low percentage of people who are willing to just go straight into the job ladder. Because obviously it's like that whole thing, once you're on the ladder, you can't really get off. Like you don't get to say, oh, I want to have like a year to go traveling unless you quit. And then it's the same idea as if you quit, if you jump off the ladder, then you can't. You got to start from the bottom again. Can't. That's just a sort of like a saying, I guess. I don't know if it entirely holds true. Like obviously, I've not been there, I've not done that, but you hear it, people talking about that. How once you started, you're sort of trapped,
Yeah.
and you just sort of stay in that 9 to 5 idea, and then you just sort of. I'm not saying you don't move. Like obviously, if you're doing your job well, then you move up the chain or become more experienced or high paid positions. But in terms of being able to have the freedom that some people want, like you want, it's not really easily accessible at that point.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's why I also didn't want to go into 9 to 5, because I remember I got offered one um in during the gap year, like towards the end. It was like a firm in Guildford,
Mm.
like accounting. I had the interview and everything, and I had sort of said I don't really want it because I was talking. They're really nice guys. It's just it made me realise that I just didn't want to take the leap of having the flexibility and just change. It's almost like a change in life because I was sick of like just the same thing every single day. I couldn't do it. But like
Yeah,
at the time I just couldn't do it. And so that's why working like weird shifts that I do, like I don't know, it's like 3, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. There's like such a change and difference. It is almost relieving to not feel like a robot anymore.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's why I feel like sometimes the structured life could makes you feel like a robot. It makes you feel like you're not really a human, you know? Like you
I
wake up,
mean,
you get to bed, like you've done this exact same thing the last day, and it's like, where's the days?
yeah, I think that's. I mean, but I think some people like that. It's not necessarily robotic. It's just you could say. I guess you could argue it's like monotonous, but people find time to enjoy that same passage of events because they have those small variants in the days, or they just enjoy the comfort of being able to know what they're doing. Like a lot of people don't want to have that freedom. A lot of people don't want to be responsible for their own organization in that sort of extreme manner in which they don't know what they're doing each day. Like people want to wake up, they want to know I can just go to work. It's less stressful that way. I think a lot of people do like doing the whole 9 to 5 thing because even though you might say hey, you're doing the same thing every day, you get up at 8, you get to work at 9, and then you get home for 5, and then you sit, you watch TV, you have dinner, you watch TV, you go to bed. Like yeah, but some people find comfort in that as it is, and then some people just that's just life. That's just life for some people. They don't necessarily do the exact same thing every day. There's still time to do other things. You get your freedom time after work or like on the weekends. So yeah, like, it's not necessarily as monotonous or robotic as it might seem. I think.
Yeah, I can sort of see it. I mean, I've just the experiences I've had of like doing the 9 to 5 is just it just you just feel like a sheep. Like no, I just feel like a sheep just following everyone else. It's like, especially when you're in traffic, like everyone obviously just finished at the same time. It's like, well, we will finish. Guess we're gonna go home, watch some Netflix, and go to bed. Like, I just hate. I think I just hate doing like the norm. I think I'd rather try and do other things. I'd rather work like 12 hours one day and one the next day, that rather than like 8 hours every day. It's like I don't want to. be forced to work 8 hours that day. Like, let's say I wake up one day, I'm not feeling like anything, I have to do it. But the next day I'll work like 15 hours. I don't care, because I'd rather just have that freedom of working when I want. If that makes sense. Like, I'll still
Yeah,
put in
of
the
course it
hours.
does.
I still put in the hours, if not more hours than most people. But it's just having that flexibility of working when I want. So getting away from that, so like structured like 9 to 5 job, and making it like seven
Yeah,
till seven.
of course that makes sense. Like, yeah, it's the same. Works both ways. There's people who enjoy the sort of 9 to 5 lifestyle. There's going to be people who can't stand it, and I guess you're just one of those people. It makes sense. I understand where you're coming from as well. I can see the sort of almost like mind-numbing sort of way that it would sort of run you. It would run you down, I guess. Just it would get really quick, like old very quickly. Just doing the exact same thing, or like doing even just similar things every day, and then maybe it would just sort of make you feel like you've not got what you wanted. I think I think you're just really suited to a more spontaneous lifestyle, or like a more independent lifestyle.
So do you think that's a personality thing? Like, is that like to do with nature or nurture? Or is there a mixture? Like, do you think I'm just born like that, or do you think that's sort of a mix?
A mix, but I'd say more on the nature side. Like I think it's just yeah, I think it's just you could definitely learn. You could learn to get used to a 9 to 5. You could be in a situation where you understand that it's necessary and you can be comfortable with it. But then equally, if you're in like a 9 to 5 for 10 years, right, and your nature is wanting to do things independently. So, for example, if you were in a 9 to 5 because that was the only option, yeah, you're in there for 10 years, and then after 10 years, someone says to you like, by the way, you could have just done your own thing the whole time. Even though in that 10 years, because there were no other options, you would have been perhaps at peace with the idea of it. Even though you felt like you wanted to do something else, you realise it's the only option. There's nothing else you could do. So you sort of come to terms with it, and you get on with your life. And then 10 years down the line, someone says like, you could just do this. You could do something completely different, and it could work out just fine. Then obviously you'll do that because that's part of your nature. But I think that it's mostly just nature. It's mostly personality or character. Just different people are best suited to different ways of life. Like you're not going to find. I mean, there's only if you certain personality types or people will only like work so well in jobs that don't fit them. Maybe
Mhm.
so people like
Yep.
you who like being in control of their own lives or organizing themselves and don't like being part of the whole 9 to 5 mass work group. If in this sort of day and age, and knowing what you know, if we put you in a 9 to 5, you probably wouldn't be there very long.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like you wouldn't work. You
No,
just
no,
probably
I
you
wouldn't
would want to
like
do other
it.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd want to do other things. So yeah, I think it's mostly nature. Yeah.
Okay. So that's one thing. Like, I've always sort of wished I wish I sort of liked the generic structured life of that. I've tried to come to terms with working it. It just doesn't click in my head. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. Maybe it will in the future, but at the moment, it's just I can't put myself to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe,
That's fine, mate.
maybe, maybe I've had like a bad taste of it and I have to give it another go. But it's that like just from experiences and just life in general, I just really
Well, I mean,
see my point.
how long have you been in a 9 to 5 job?
Not long at all, to be honest. I probably didn't give it
What
up.
was the nine to
It was
five job?
accounting.
I thought you
I
didn't
literally
actually take the job though.
no. I did accounting all of last year. Like on this, I did it was with my mum. I used to work 1 to 2 days a week, but I remember I did a week straight. And I only did a week, to be fair. So a week nine
Like
to
going into
five,
the office and everything.
9 to 5, yeah, going to the office. And I like honestly I remember like Thursday I was like I can't. I obviously went in and did it, but I had enough. And so like I said, working 2 days a week, 9 to 5, that was okay. Like I could manage that, but I still felt like something wasn't right, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know
Maybe who
I don't know
knows?
why though, because I could easily like work at the castle for like 15, 16 hours.
Mm.
It's just weird. Like most people wouldn't want that, would they? Like half, like
Maybe
double.
maybe it's just the more sort of nuanced nature of the positions. Like maybe because you like the castle because of the social, like you still get to be with your mates and like chat during the shift. Like it's not like you're sort of sat down and you don't get to talk to anyone, is it?
Yeah, that's
Like you
true.
get to interact during the shift. So maybe it's just like those little details that make a difference for you.
Yeah, you're probably right. It doesn't link
And
with that.
also, like during a week, obviously, you're not going to get to know everyone super well. You're not going to probably make good
Well,
friends
I
during
mean,
it.
the office was so small. I knew it. It's not. There's like me and two other people. It's not big.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I mean. Maybe, yeah, maybe that just wasn't the right sort of 9 to 5 experience for you.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe. Like I said, I would give it another go because I don't want to judge the whole. I don't want to like completely avoid it. I probably will eventually fall into it, but I don't in some way or another. But it's from personal experience from now, it's not been perfect. But
Yeah, I get that.
I can't judge like the saying like you can't judge one bad restaurant on for all the others, or you can't judge all the restaurants from one bad restaurant. Like you can't imagine if I just sat down at like Pizza Express, I were given a moldy pizza and never went to any other
Yeah,
restaurants ever again.
yeah, no, yeah,
So I guess it's just like that saying.
yeah, probably.
I think
Just need to find the right job
yeah, true.
if that's what you want, obviously. Because you might just not need that.
We'll see. One thing I did find out though, or I came into an enlightenment today, was I have like quite addictive personality, and by that I mean if I have a task, or I remember it is linked with gaming because if I sat down and played game, I get so addicted to what I'm doing that I want to be really good at it or the best at it, and so I'll put in disgusting amount of hours in it. But sometimes putting so much time and effort into something is actually gets to a point where it's like degrading, like you start to digress in progress.
Yeah, it's not beneficial anymore.
I noticed that today with trading. Like I feel like I need to. I think this is why I want to talk about. This is why I really want to talk about structured life because it's. I think for me, a structured life, you need to have the balance of work, chill time, health, whatever.
Yeah,
And so when I was doing like long like days just sat here in this room, I have it like
yeah,
it just wasn't working. Like I actually started to get worse.
I get you. I think that's quite normal to do. Like when you're learning a task, just there's going to be times when your skill's not going to go in a straight line, or your progress isn't going to travel in a straight line. Same for a lot of things, and I feel like you usually notice you're getting worse before you notice you get better. That's just one of those things because as soon as you understand more about the task, you understand that like your understanding of the task sort of outgrows your progress or skill in the task in a way. So maybe from your perception, it seems like you're getting worse, when in reality, your perception is just disproportionate from your skill. Do you get me?
So your perception is
So
disproportionate.
just if you see it as two different lines, right? So you start a task, yeah,
Yep.
and your skill is just here, and then your personality is also there.
Yep.
No, sorry, your knowledge of the
Not.
task is also there. So
Yep.
knowledge and skill. So this is the beginning of the task. So you start doing the task, and then your sort of skill is just going up, and then your knowledge sort of like goes up a little bit. Your knowledge can go up quite a lot faster, like because obviously in something like trading, you can understand a lot of concepts. If you read into it, yeah, I'm assuming. So obviously, I don't know much about it, but I'm assuming that there's different ideas and strategies and concepts that come with trading, right?
Yeah.
So you learn about them, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you could completely understand them, but not know how to actually practically apply them. Sorry.
Yep.
So in that situation, your perception has outgrown, or your understanding of the skills of the task has outgrown your actual skills. So it
Yeah,
makes your actual skills, although you're making progress, it makes it look as though you're not, because you understand more.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, okay, I see that. So you're saying
I think I can. Well, I think I've seen that happen with myself in like a
in
few tasks, or a
yeah,
few hobbies or whatever. So I think it's definitely something that you need to be wary of, because otherwise it's so easy to just get discouraged.
yeah. No, I think I experienced that definitely, but also even in school and stuff when you have it's like you have all this knowledge and you know it, but you actually having that practical application of it being in an exam and doing an exam paper, it's not there.
Yeah,
So that's
I
why,
think that's just different. You know, that's just flaws, and I think I'm not sure that's different, but I'd say that that's like a tricky scenario, because the whole idea of exams being the way that we test knowledge is kind of flawed and old. Anyway, so I guess I would agree, but to a point, that's like a whole different scenario. I'm more talking about just like learning a new skill set.
so what about
And
what about like a sport? Like what if you're
yeah,
learning?
sure, like, so you learn about football, right?
Yeah,
You
we'll do
don't know
football. Yeah,
anything about football. You learn about all the rules, and you learn about all the skills and the like complex plays that you can make, like set plays and stuff like that. And in application, because you've not actually been playing practically on the field for very long, you know, like it's like saying, "Oh, I've read how to do a rainbow flick." It's not like you can go out and do a rainbow flick on your first attempt. And if you can't do that, you'll probably be like, "I know how to do it. Why can't I do it?" It's because it's not how it works. You know, there's difference in understanding of the knowledge or understanding of the content and being able to practically apply that. It's always going to be practice makes perfect. You
yeah,
can read into it as much as you want, and you can understand all the plays and all the nuances and different moves that a football team can make. But it doesn't mean that you're going to go on that field and be on par with Messi or Ronaldo,
yeah.
like, because you've not had the practical application, you've not had the chance to practice.
So it's almost like the saying, or it is the saying, if you truly understand the knowledge you have, you'll be able to teach it to someone else, and they'll be able to learn it from you. So if you truly
I've not heard that.
if you truly learn, the knowledge that you like you're saying you have, you learnt it. To put it into practical application, you become the teacher rather than the student, and teach someone that knowledge. And if they understand it from you, then you understand it, like fully.
Okay, I've not really heard that, but yeah, sure, I guess
Okay.
so.
Yeah. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense how the knowledge curve is a lot steeper than the skill one. But does it not come to a
Yeah,
point where they either like plateau or one overtakes the other? By
yeah. Well, I don't.
I don't
I
think
would.
skill could ever.
No, I don't think skill could ever surpass knowledge, because I feel like knowledge could always be higher than skill. But if your skill ever goes above your knowledge, then you have innately also learned more, right?
Yep.
So if you accidentally do a skill that you didn't know about, not only have you become more skillful, but your knowledge has increased also, because now you know, right? So I don't
Yeah,
think
you're right.
they could meet each other, but I don't think they could. I don't think skill could outdo knowledge. I think it would be the case that eventually your knowledge would plateau far earlier than your skill, and then, I mean, I guess the point at which you can, judge that you've fully learned a task is when your knowledge is the highest that you think it can be, and your skill matches it.
Yep.
That's when you fully understand, and you can, and you're. I wouldn't. I'd be. I think maybe saying expert is ambitious, but saying you're very proficient in a task is at that point.
Okay, but obviously these graphs that we're saying are we don't know what the graphs are. How would someone ever know if they've plateaued in knowledge or plateaued in skill? Do you think there's like certain signs that would show that?
Yeah, of course there are, man. Like, it's just. Yeah, I mean, it's as simple
So
as
for the
it's as
football
simple as
example,
consuming all the knowledge you can. Yeah, so you've learned all the skills that anyone has ever possibly performed. That's a plateau.
But that's the trouble with this though is that's you know the skills to like that have been publicized. Like people might know new
Yep.
skills that you don't know about, so therefore you lack
Yeah,
in
sure.
knowledge. So
Yeah,
your
sure.
knowledge thing could plateau, but you can still go up. But you just there's just
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, no. But a plateau doesn't mean that it isn't a peak. It isn't a cap, is it? A
Well,
plateau is just where it levels out for a bit.
so I think my point I'm trying to make is like let's say your knowledge has plateaued and your skill is on the same level as your knowledge now, both plateauing.
Yeah.
You might think you've learned it all and done it all. You're an expert. Yet there's some knowledge out there that you don't even know about, and that could excel you even higher. But you don't know
Yeah.
about it. So how do you know that you're at the top? You don't. I guess there's no there's no measurement of.
Yeah, you can't say. That's the thing. You can never say definitively you've learned everything,
So
unless if you have met. Like obviously this is hypothetical, but the only point you could say or you can is where you've met every other person who practices in the same skill that you do, and you've learned all that they have combined, and you've read all the possible texts, you've experienced all you can. But that's the whole point, isn't it? You can never really be like it's not really going to be possible to be all. You can't be all knowing. You can't. Like you think about people are constantly. There's too many variables. People are constantly coming up with new things and
always
new
evolving.
ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's unhealthy. I think it's inherently unhealthy to try and strive to be the absolute best. It's best. I think it's good to have a mindset of trying to learn as much as you can from different experiences and different people, because I think that's where you will learn the most. Because there's it's good reading a book, but it's brilliant if you can get someone else who has who has more experience than you to come and show you how to do that. Because not only are you learning the knowledge, they can teach you the actual practical skills.
yeah,
That's why we need teachers.
of course, yeah. But then I think it comes to a point where, uh, when there's two lines that the skill and the knowledge plateau together, I think that's where people form an ego in that skill or whatever it is or hobby, whatever you want to say. Let's just say football, for example, where you know, let's just use Messi for example. He must think. I mean, he's arguably the best player in the world, right? And so
Sure, but that's that's the best known player.
exactly best known player. So going off the best known player, right? His I haven't talked to him, but I'm guessing his ego like is insanely high, and by that I mean
I don't know. You can never say, mate. I think completely dependent on personality.
You think?
No, I'm sure.
'Cause
I mean, some people are inherently egotistical, so they will have that ego way before their skill even meets their knowledge, or way before their skill or knowledge is even on par with many others. People who are inherently egotistical, but then there's people who are very modest and just don't indulge in that kind of personality or trait. So that's just personality for sure. I understand where you're coming from, because obviously if you're so knowledgeable and skillful in a certain topic, and you don't meet people who are often surpass you, I think it would be quite easy to become egotistical. But
yep.
I don't think it's necessarily certain.
Okay, but let's just say that you get to top and you start to develop an ego. The one thing I found is if you don't stay humble, like you're saying, and like, some people might be modest and humble and just be like, I'm not the best. If you don't stay humble and keep this ego up, you eventually fall behind, because let's say you think you're the best and you keep saying that, and new things are being discovered, here and there, like the knowledge could be going up, but you're just so adamant that you are the best and you don't need to learn anything more,
Yeah, of course.
that your skill actually starts to deteriorate.
That's why having a big ego is not a positive thing, mate. It will always blind you from what's really going on.
Yep.
Having a big ego means that you don't understand that other people can do better than you, or other people can do things that you can't, and it's inherently going to hinder your process, your process of learning. Like, you're not gonna be able to be the best you can if you embrace the ego, the big inflated ego.
Mm.
That's true for anything, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think that's like a life.
But that's just a mostly negative character trait.
Yeah, but that's inside everyone. Everyone has an ego inside of them, but it's just whether
I mean,
it's
yeah, that's different. You know, everyone having an ego and everyone being egotistical is
it's
different.
different, of course.
Because obviously everyone has to have an ego. Otherwise, you've got no sense of self,
Yeah,
and then that becomes a whole philosophical and
psychological thing. Yeah,
psychological issue. But having an inflated ego or being egotistical of your skills in different facets of life is not good, not healthy,
yeah, and
not positive.
that's why I think everyone should always show like respect to anyone and just be humble until you know that respect isn't shown back by that person. It
Sure.
but the problem is, people, let's say like people in power and leaders in power, like don't always show respect to other people, and so you see their egos get the better of them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I feel like that's how this world's run at the moment.
Yeah. Of
It's
course,
like
man.
whoever's got the biggest dick contest, basically.
Yeah, I think it's far more complex than that, but I'd say that's one aspect of it. Yeah. Childish. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think we got a bit off topic there, but
No,
yeah.
that's cool.
um, but back to being structured life. I think the yeah for me that the overall structure for me of a life, I guess you could argue is also there's a societal structure of life, right? That third party give you that structure for you, right? Then there's also the subjective structure of life where you, well, not subjective, but where you structure your own life. Um, so let's say you don't have this third party structure it for you, you structure it completely yourself, and you being able to balance, you know, everything you want within the time that you have is quite impressive if you could manage it. Because I said this before in another video, but I think it's almost impossible to have like such good health, like really good relationships, work like the 9 to 5, but also have enough free time and hobbies for me anyways that I haven't found. But like I said, some people don't like free time, so they can balance their life with a 9 to 5 really easily.
Yeah.
But I think my perspective is really skewed on being negative against 9 to 5.
No, I know what you mean. Like, it is always going to be difficult for anyone to balance the whole array of different ideas. Free time, spending time with others, having a good, healthy job, having a healthy body and a healthy mind. But yeah, everyone's always going to have their own mix. Everyone's always going to have their own priorities. There's people who are always going to have priority on family. People are always going to have priority on work.
Yep,
People are going to have priority on their mental health. And again, I think it mostly comes down to personality, because personality is what makes us have those choices and those preferences. So that's what it's relying on, and it's different for everyone.
agreed. Alright. Are you got anything else to say on the topic?
No, I don't think so, mate.
Actually, I've got a
Just
question.
been
I've got a
going.
question.
Yeah, sure.
Have you ever thought about the structured life the way I do, or have you always been adamant on the like this the
What do you mean?
like? Have you ever thought about not you know doing the 9 to 5 and like is it always in the back of your mind basically? That's what I'm trying to ask. Like
It's
is working 9 to 5 always in the back of your mind? Like have you just like accepted that you're gonna do it, or have you ever thought of like, oh, I'm gonna do something else, for a couple of years, or
um
is this too deep of a question?
nah, no, I'm just thinking about it.
Like, have you ever thought, how do I word this? Like, have you ever thought, you know, against 9 to 5. Like, I'm guessing you are for 9 to 5. Like you don't, from what you said, like
I'm not for or against it.
that's
I
what I mean.
just
Like
all I'm literally. It's not like a morally weighed decision. All it is that the path that I've chosen, the path that I want to follow, and the career that I want, it is a 9 to 5 job. I'm not saying that I believe 9 to 5 jobs is the way, or believe everyone should have a 9 to 5 job, or I'm saying I really want a 9 to 5 job. I'm just saying that what I want to do is done through a 9 to 5 job, and that's just how it is. If there was another way to do it, then I would perhaps explore that. But right now, it just doesn't work like that.
what? That's I'm a bit like jealous because I wish just I don't know. I know you say it's not morally based, but I just for some reason just can't come to terms with it. I don't know. I guess it's because our interests maybe lie a little bit different towards like the career sort of aspect. But
Yeah,
it's a bit like it's cool for me, but it's also a bit frustrating at the same time where I want to have that sort of solid mindset you have where you know what you want to do. I think yeah, maybe it just links to like you 100% know you want to do that, and so you know that
yeah,
yeah, it just links back to you having more structure. I feel like I
maybe.
sometimes lack that. Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I've always known I wanted to do it, and it's just I don't know. I've never really wavered. But I guess there's always going to be some doubts. Sometimes people will get doubts no matter what they're doing. But fundamentally, I know what I want to do, and I'm on the path right now, and I don't feel like I know it's quite a long path. Obviously, starts in GCSEs, that kind of thing, and
yeah.
I still I'm not really wavering. I feel like I've still made the right decision. I'm still heading towards what I want. But I quite like the idea of having a routine where I go to work, and because I'll enjoy my work. I'm not gonna settle for a 9 to 5, which I don't actually enjoy. Because I think as long as the content of your day is something you enjoy, the structure of it isn't that important. So even if I'm doing a 9 to 5 and I don't really like doing a 9 to 5 and the monotony, hopefully there won't be monotony because I will be doing something I enjoy and doing something different, and that's why I've picked the job. The sector that I have, and I quite like the idea of working up through a company or getting in higher positions or just becoming more established within a field, more knowledgeable. I want that. So yeah, I'm happy to do that.
All right.
And I've never really thought of much else. Like, so I guess sometimes, okay, the closest I've come is like thinking about just fucking it all off and joining the military. Like, you know,
Everyone's had that thought. I've had that thought. Everyone's had that.
yeah, exactly. So like, I've looked into that kind of thing just in case, just so you think, all right, maybe I would do that. Maybe that would be an interesting lifestyle because obviously that is very different from your standard 9 to 5. But
Yeah,
ultimately, the path I'm on is the path I want right now. So that's pretty much it.
that's respectful. That's perfect then. I'll rate that.
Mm.
All right. I'm happy to wrap it here if you are. Been just under an hour.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Sounds good
Lovely.
then. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for the cheeky one. That was a nice cheeky one.
Thank you, mate.
No worries.